الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونستنصره، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له، ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا، لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. وأشهد أن نبينا وعظيمنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله، وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وبعد. يقول جل جلاله في محكم التنزيل: وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه، ونخرج له يوم القيامة كتابا يلقاه منشورا. اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. The series of khutbahs, as I called our communal covenant or our communal contract. My goal of sharing this topic or talking about it in the way that I presented it is to help myself and those who are living within this city and within Muslim communities in the West to better understand exactly what the dynamic is. I think there's lack of understanding of what the dynamic looks like. We haven't had a healthy dynamic as Muslims for a long time. It's not just in the West. It hasn't been working elsewhere as well. And it's not just since the Khilafah fell. It was well before that, quite frankly. There was a very healthy dynamic the Prophet ﷺ established in his city. And the Khulafa al-Rashidun after him also continued to carry. And it lived on for many generations afterwards. And slowly, through corruption, whether it may be political, social, financial, or beyond, this dynamic started to be, they chipped away at this dynamic until it stopped existing. And slowly over time, we lost any reference to what it once was. And it left Muslims a little bit lost in the midst of an ocean of options. Muslims who weren't sure exactly what it was that they were supposed to do. There was lack of guidance, lack of direction. That came from a lack of belonging, really. And over years and years and maybe centuries of this being the case, we normalized there not being a dynamic. It became normal. Meaning there being no expectations at all. You go to the masjid, there are no expectations. In the Middle East, you go to the masjid, no expectations. You're just praying your fard because Jummah is wajib and you have to do it. You walk in, no expectations whatsoever. You just make dua, Ya Rab, it's short. That's it. You're just hoping that it's not too long. Aside from that, what he's going to say, who told him to say it, not even a question. People run masajid, no expectations from people whatsoever. And it just became the norm. And here in the West, not that different, not that different. You walk in, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what is right, what is wrong. What should I be hoping for here? People who run masajid, I've been sitting with them for 13 years. No idea what to expect from their public. So what's the closest paradigm that we can think of? Businesses. That's the closest thing we know. Running a business. This seems like similar. It seems similar. You have a board. You have people who are offering a service. You have people who are taking the service. Sounds like a business. Let's run it like a business. So masajid start to run like businesses. Not the paradigm. That's not the dynamic he established, alayhi salatu wasalam. We came up with it, and I'm not blaming people for it. I'm just saying we came up with it because we couldn't figure out what is the correct one. We don't have a reference point anymore. We lost that many, many years ago. And no one really talks about it, so we're kind of a little bit lost. We want masajid to be the center of our communities. We would like that. It sounds very intriguing. It's an attractive idea. I would love for that to be the case. But how? How do I achieve that? I have no idea. As a Muslim in just living, I don't know. I have to go for Jummah, so I do. Aside from that, really not my space. And if it is my space, I show up once a week. I don't really have any expectations when I do it. I pray, I leave. People in the masjid, those who are running it, don't seem to ask us for anything aside from money on Laylatul Qadr or whatever other nights they decide to fundraise aggressively, and they show you a picture and say, let's build this. So you say, yes, you put your money, we build it. But that's not a dynamic, and that is not healthy relation. It's not a healthy relationship. It's not a community that is working towards the betterment of its own self. It's not a community that has a vision, has goals, has objectives, has domains that it knows it should be contributing to. Has people who are taking care or championing those domains and moving forward. People are asking the questions later on to figure out where they are and figure out what else is needed so they can keep on moving their purposes forward, their needs, their requirements. This agency that we have as human beings and as Muslims specifically within our communities, we're not practicing appropriately. So I'm trying to establish something that I think the Prophet ﷺ, or I know the Prophet ﷺ and his ashab established in their masajid. There was a lot of clarity back then. I like clarity. Islam is big on clarity. Islam doesn't like vagueness or ambiguity. It's not helpful. It's not helpful for people when they don't know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, where they stand, what's required of them, what they should be expecting from others. What is the goal? Where are we going? What are we trying to achieve? What are the milestones? Are we closer? Are we farther away? Are we getting there? Or have we deviated? Just questions. Pluck out 100 Muslims from a community, ask them the question, you'll have 100 different answers. If you didn't know they were from the same city, you would think they were from different centuries. You would think they came from different planets, not from different countries. A wide range of opinions and ideas of what exactly should be happening. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's helpful. I think that's why we are turning in circles as Muslims. And it's like we're reinventing the wheel in every Muslim community, all across the West, all across the world. Even in countries where they have freedom, we don't know how are we going to move forward. I believe there has to be a healthy dynamic relationship between those who are running masajid and those who are attending them. And I think masajid have to be the centerpiece, has to be the launching pad for how communities move forward. It doesn't all have to happen in the masjid. It doesn't all have to happen under the umbrella of the masjid, but it should be centralized there. In terms of that's where you look for the people that are going to help you, and that is where the progress is going to be continually going to be measured moving forward. We need metrics to figure out if we're going forward. I don't have any metrics. It's ridiculous. Well, at 13 years, I have no metrics. I have no idea. Well, because when you work outside of masajid, we have all that. You work in medicine, you work in business, you work in law and education, wherever you're working, there are metrics, you know. Are we moving forward? There are ways to measure if things are actually functioning, if we're improving, if we're going backwards, if things are worsening or getting better. We have ways to measure all that stuff. And from that, we can sit down and figure out, okay, how do we improve? We bring in QI specialists. We talk about steps to make. You start making some progress. Nothing. Wallahi, nothing. I have nothing. I am shooting in the dark. If I couldn't see with my eyes, I feel completely blind. We're just doing stuff and hoping that it lands, hoping that it works, hoping that it's actually serving people, hoping that people are actually listening to what we're saying and it's somehow helping them or inspiring them or moving them or encouraging them, and hopefully they're doing something for it. And I can't measure it and see, but I'm hoping, inshallah, that people are listening to me and then going and doing. So I have no idea. Not just me, none of the mashayikh or the Islamic institutes do either. And I asked, and I looked, because I want a model that works. I actually don't want to reinvent the wheel. I need to show me a model that works so we can follow it. So I came up with this idea of here's what I think or what I believe the Prophet ﷺ did. He explained very clearly what his role was. He took upon himself that which myself and those who work here with me, we take upon ourselves, inshallah, to provide. The education and the guidance and the mentorship, we'll provide that. To the best of our ability, day and night, we'll be here every day. If that means I have to finish my work every day and come here for every single day, 7 days a week, we'll do that. And the people with me will do it as well. And we'll continue to try our best, and we'll make mistakes, and we'll continue to try and correct ourselves. But that doesn't function if there's the other end of the bargain. But then there's the commitment that should exist from the community itself, which I don't understand. I can hold myself to something, but I don't know what to expect. I'm telling you what you can expect from us, all right? That's this is the best I can do. I can tell you what to expect from what we're going to be offering. Now, what I need in order for this to work is what can I expect from you? What can masajid expect from you? Your attendees, you come here, you pray. What exactly can we expect from you? Or what should the expectation be? So I've talked about a few things now. I've shared with you 4 points. I talked about attendance, I talked about participation, I talked about initiatives, we talked about religious adherence. You can go back to them if you want to listen to them. Today I want to talk about the last piece. This is the last piece I have. It's just 5 points that I think are worthy of sharing, which is accountability. Accountability that exists on multiple levels. So the word here that I'm going to, accountability is not just the accountability that you hold the masajid to that is negative. No. Accountability that is a little bit, let's talk about it more vastly here. Accountability as what you hold yourself to. Number one, we need accountability, meaning we all have to hold ourselves to a standard. I have to hold myself accountable, and you have to do the same. That has to be the basis of all of this. Because that's the basis Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us when He told us to walk this path. When He told you to be a Muslim, He told you have to hold yourself accountable. Because if you don't, then you're going to be really upset when I hold you accountable Yawm al-Qiyamah. You're going to feel very lost and quite sucker punched almost, because you never thought about it. So before I hold you accountable Yawm al-Qiyamah, before you come to me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds us accountable, and yuhasibuna, we have to do it for ourselves. He tells us in the Quran, وَكُلَّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرَهُ فِي عُنُقِهِ. Everyone will carry his responsibility in his own neck. It's on you. You carry it alone. And then Yawm al-Qiyamah, we will produce for him. We will produce for him a book. You'll find it page, manshura, open, page after page. You can go through it page after page. اقرأ كتابك. Now read your book. This was hard to imagine. Back maybe when the Prophet ﷺ first read. Not hard anymore. Now we have AI. No problem. They can take everything you've said, every text you've sent, every picture we have about you, give it to a machine. It'll produce a book telling us about exactly what you did in your life. Maybe it can't go as deep as the book that Yawm al-Qiyamah will be produced, that tells us what the intentions were, what the thoughts were, what the goals were. But it can tell us a lot about what your life is like. اقرأ كتابك. Go ahead, read your book. Read your book. كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. Today, you're going to hold yourself accountable. You're going to perform hisab for yourself. That's what Allah says. كفى بنفسك اليوم. Today, you will do it. Read the book and tell me. Allah will tell you, read the book, read that book. Tell me about the person in that book. What do you think of them? You think that's a person worthy of Jannah? What do you think of this person? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us, wallahi. But that's what we're going to have to do Yawm al-Qiyamah. Iqra kitabak. So if you're not doing this now, if you're not holding yourself accountable now, then Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to be very difficult. Because you're going to have to read. You're not going to want to read. Like, is there any way we don't read this? Can we just... Sure. Of course there's a way for this not to be read. Of course there's a way for us to move forward with it. And that's where what I'm talking about comes in. When you live for yourself, you have to answer for yourself, question by question, 1, 2, 3. You have to go through line by line. When you live for something bigger, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tends to look away from a lot of the mistakes that happened. Why? Because you had a bigger vision in your mind. You were living for beyond yourself and your selfish needs, which we all want to take care of, obviously. I want to take care of myself and my family. But you think bigger, that's a way for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive. But you have to hold yourself accountable for that now. You have to be asking yourself the question on a daily basis, am I giving more than I'm taking in this world? As a human being, do I contribute more than I consume? As a Muslim, am I a contributor Muslim, a participant, or am I just a consuming Muslim? Am I taking more than I give? Is the weight that I add to the group more than the weight that I am carrying for the group? You have to continue to ask yourself that question. Sayyidina Umar al-Khattab would say, حَاسِبُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ قَبْلَ أَن تُحَاسَبُوا وَزِنُوا أَعْمَالَكُمْ قَبْلَ أَن تُوزَنَ عَلَيْكُمْ. Hold yourselves accountable before you are held accountable by Allah. And weigh out your deeds before someone else weighs them for you. Take this upon yourself. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْتَنظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. The human being has to look, what have I prepared for the future? Not just the future of the next 10 years and the house that you're going to buy and the establishment you're going to leave your children, but lighad, as in after you're in your grave. What have you left for that part of your life? Nothing I said over the last 7-8 weeks means anything if myself, starting with myself, and everyone else listen to me, if we don't hold ourselves accountable to that which we commit to. It's a covenant. It's a covenant. You know what a covenant is? Ahd. It's ahd. It's an agreement. It's a contract. You said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. You said it. No one forced you to. When you said that, that's a covenant. That's an agreement. You have now committed yourself to something. You have committed yourself to follow the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will in return give you something for it. It's a contract. It's a covenant. It's a two-way road. Don't worry. You offer, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. He bought from you your life and your wealth and all that you are for Jannah. Just now your end of the bargain. You're accountable for it, so go ahead and offer it. It's an agreement. You agreed to this. You don't agree to this, khalas. Fine. But please, don't agree to it and then sit around watching. Because that's just not helpful. And it's actually very harmful. And it's tiring. Because it dilutes the numbers and it convolutes the appearance. It makes us feel that we're fine. You see, minorities, really small minorities, work really hard. You know why? Because they feel threatened. I'm not saying that's the right reason for us to do things, by the way. I think it's the wrong reason for us to do things. I fully believe that. But I'm explaining to you the dynamic of it. When you're a very small minority and you count numbers and you think, oh, there's not a lot of us, you work really hard because you feel threatened. You feel threatened on every level, your identity, your language, your faith. But when there's a lot of us, there's a lot of people, you don't feel threatened anymore. Like, there's a lot of us, there's billions, we're fine. But we're not. We're actually not. We never were. Because the actual number of people who care is actually quite low. The percentage is even lower. And using any numbers would be arrogant and rude of me, so I'm not going to do that. But you can actually go look this up. Look for practicing Muslims and look for, you'll find statistics out there. What are the actual numbers? So no, actually, we don't. We're not. You gave a covenant. I gave a covenant. We're both accountable to that covenant. It's a covenant that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala agreed to. He offered Jannah, we offered him that we will follow and listen. There's a lot of details to it, and it's quite beautiful when you understand it. But a part of it is this dynamic that I'm trying to explain. There has to be a dynamic here. We hold ourselves accountable, number one. Number two, we hold each other accountable. We have to hold each other accountable. He did this all the time, alayhi salatu wasalam. I'm going to give you examples in a moment. We have to hold one another accountable. Masajid have to hold their communities accountable, and communities have to hold their masajid accountable. We have to hold these checks and balances are essential for countries to function. If you don't hold your politicians accountable, they will, without accountability, what is the proverb? Man amina al-uqubata asa al-adab. Once you know there are no consequences, you lose your manners. When you know there are no consequences, you lose your manners. If I stand here and think there's no consequences, I can say anything, because no one will say anything about it. It's just a matter of time. I'll be well-intended, well-educated and everything, doing everything right. But if I know that no one's going to say anything, I can get away with almost anything. Right? If I think that and I feel that and that's the truth, come back a few years later and you'll find that it's not the same anymore. I will deviate. This is the nature of human behavior. It's very hard for a human being to know there are no consequences upon him and stay on the sirat al-mustaqim. I believe it's impossible. I believe because it's impossible, we have uquba yawm al-qiyamah. Because of this, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, He knows best who we are. If there is no punishment at all to come your way, then it's impossible for you to stay on this track. You will not stay on a track of goodness. You will deviate. It's just who you are. It's just how we are as human beings. Everyone here, those who work, for example, if you're in school, if you show up the first day, they tell you you have to be here at 8:30 sharp. They use the word sharp, right? 8:30 sharp. You show up 8:35, nothing, no one says anything. There's nothing. So it's not as sharp as I thought, a little bit duller than the sharpness. You show up 8:40, no one says anything. Then one day you're late, you actually had a good reason at 9 o'clock, and you're coming and you're upset because you should be here at 8:30, no one says anything. Khalas. You know what happens next. You know how you behave after that. All of us, even the best of us, the most professional, the hardest working. You start waking up at 9, half an hour in the bathroom, strolling in at 10, feeling fine about it. We like that in life. It's not productive though, is it? When there's no accountability, we stop being productive. We have to be held accountable. You have to be held accountable. We have to hold each other accountable. And it doesn't have to be all negative. There's positive accountability. Yawm al-Qiyamah, is accountability all uquba? Or is a part of the accountability Jannat al-Na'im, which we hope inshallah will be amongst them. So yeah, inshallah will be amongst those. But it's accountability still. Accountability is not all negative, but it's there. Someone's noticing, is what I'm trying to say. There has to be people who are noticing things are happening. Where is the money going? Where are you using it? Use it there, mashallah, amazing, jazakumullah khair. You're showing up, barakallah fiik. Would you help with this? Ahsanallah ilayk. You're actually contributing. Accountability is not all negative, but without anyone noticing anything. With all of us just acting like we exist alone, like you exist as you're just an individual. You walk into the masjid, you pray your fard, you leave. You walk into the masjid, you pray your fard, you leave. If that's how you see yourself, I'm sorry, that's not how Islam works. It's not how Islam works. And masajid that just function as businesses, yalla, come in. That's the donation box. Just put the money there, Allah ma'ak. Put the money there, Allah ma'ak. And then we run whatever we think we need to run. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. I know it may seem that's not how it works actually. That's not how he functioned, alayhi salatu wasalam. That's not how Islam became what it became today. No, we are interested in each other's well-being. We are interested in the potential that exists in our communities. We want to invest, we want to learn, we want to benefit, we want to grow as a group. That requires a very different mentality. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يغفر لكم يا فوز المستغفرين استغفر الله. الحمد لله وحده وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبع نهجه ووفى عهده. إخواني وأخواتي، النقطة الخامسة في ما أراه على المسلمين تجاه مجتمعاتهم ومساجدهم. وقد تحدثت في الخطبة الأولى عن ذلك الذي على كل مسجد وقائم عليه أن يقدموه لمجتمعاتهم، وهذا الذي ألزمنا به أنفسنا منذ أن فتحنا هذا المكان. لكن حتى يستقيم الأمر، حتى تستقيم العلاقة كما أرادها الله سبحانه وتعالى وكما سنها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، يجب أن يكون هناك عهد هذا العهد بين القائمين وبين الحاضرين. فالنبي عليه الصلاة والسلام قدم عليه وقدم الصحابة ما عليهم، وألزمهم عليه الصلاة والسلام بجانبهم بالدور الذي عليهم أن يقدموه. وتحدثت عن نقاط 4 وأضيف الخامسة اليوم. فإن على المسلم أن يكون حاضرا، وأن يكون مشاركا، وأن يكون مبادرا، وأن يكون متبعا، وأن يكون محاسبا. ولا أقصد هنا بالمحاسبة المالية، وإن كانت جزءا من العملية حقيقة، لكن المحاسبة بمعنى أن من يحاسبك على تقصيرك أو تقديمك. أولا تحاسب نفسك كما أحاسب نفسي، ومن ثم نحاسب بعضنا. والحساب ليس كله عسيرة، بعض الحساب يسير، وبعض الحساب إيجابي فيه الانتباه إلى ما قدمه الناس من خير وما بذلوه من جهد ومن دماء وأموال وأوقات، فيشكرون على ما قدموا. وذلك الذي لم يقدم عليه الصلاة والسلام كان في هذه المسألة شديدا مع أصحابه. ما تقدم، ما تلتزم، لست جزءا من الأمة، ليس منا. كم مرة كرر هذا اللفظ عليه الصلاة والسلام: ليس منا من لم يفعل كذا، ومن لم يفعل كذا، ومن ترك كذا، ومن فعل كذا. لا، لست مني، لست من هذه المجموعة إذا لم تلتزم بهذه الأمور. ولا تدفن في مقابر المسلمين، ولا تزوج من المسلمين، ولا تدفع لك أموال المسلمين زكاة، ولا لابن سبيل، ولا لطالب حاجة، ولا إلى غارم، ولا إلى غيره. وتخسر يعني دعم مجتمعك. فكان هذا دافعا للمسلمين أن يلتزموا بما أمر الله سبحانه وتعالى، ويلتزموا بسنة نبيهم عليه الصلاة والسلام. The examples of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام doing this are many. I'm going to share with you a few just quickly before we go for Salah. On the day of Khandaq, when they were digging this impossible trench, this 5-kilometer, 4-meter, 3-meter trench, absolutely insane, with no modern technology and no modern machinery. They're just using shovels and forks and whatever else and whatever else they use. It's just simple stuff. He had to break down the groups, alayhi salatu wasalam, 1,500 people into groups of 60 groups, 25 people per group. And he made sure that he told them, whatever you dig, you defend. So you're going to dig this part of the trench, and this is where you're going to camp out. So if you don't dig well, the first person to die is going to be you. Like if you didn't dig it well and the horses are able to follow, to come across, if it's not wide enough or deep enough, you're going to be the first person to die. So you're going to dig it and defend it. That was the first piece. Each group had a leader. And then Abu Bakr and Umar, they were responsible for going back and forth and watching the quality of work. And the Prophet ﷺ was with every group every single day, making sure there was quality. And that's the only way that this would work. And that's how he did alayhi salatu wasalam. Because of that, right before the Confederates made it, he had complete. Imagine if they didn't. Imagine if they had completed 85% of the job. But then there was like 500 meters of no trench. It's a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. The army just comes through the part where there's no trench. This had to work. The reason it worked because they were used to being held accountable. They saw through their covenants. They were given a task. They saw through the task. They supported themselves and their communities. This was the basis of Ummah Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam for a long time. For a long time. When the Abu Shahm tells us, Musnad Ahmad, when he came to with his tribe to give bay'ah to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and during the evening he saw a young lady walk by. He did something he shouldn't have. He said something. He behaved in a way he shouldn't have. Next morning, the people are standing in line to give bay'ah to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Hadith Ahmad sahih. The Prophet was offering bay'ah. Abu Sham, his turn, he puts his hand up for the bay'ah. The Prophet pulls his hand back. La ilaha illallah. Alayhi sallam pulls his hand back. It's like Abu Shaham was, living in a cloud. A lot of our youth are living in clouds, and then they need something to kind of wake them up. And for Abu Shaham, it was the day the Prophet pulled his hand back. قال صاحب الجبذة. You're the guy who did that yesterday. فقلت لا أبايعك. I will never give bay'ah to you. فقال أبو شام فقلت والله لا أعود أبدا. I'll never do it again. فقال لي لا تعود أبدا. Never again. فقلت نعم. فقال أبايعك. Then put your hand out. عليه الصلاة والسلام. Right? Why? Because you have to. No. There's no such thing as there's no consequences for what we do. There's no accountability. That doesn't work. On the day of Mu'tah, the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba, you will pray Fajr and go to an area right outside of Medina. Wait for me. I will pray Jummah and come to you, and then you will move the army. So everyone pray Fajr and go there. Abdullah bin Rawaha told himself, well, if we're not leaving until after Jummah, then maybe I pray Fajr and I go pray Jummah with the Prophet ﷺ and then join with him. And he thought he was, getting more ajr by doing that. So he would do this. The Prophet ﷺ would arrive at the group and he would find Abu Rawaha coming right after him. And after Salah. فقال أين كنت? Where were you? So he explained to him, صليت الفجر وصليت معك. I said I would pray. فقال والله لتأخرك عنهم لا يجزئه عمل الدهر. You being held behind, there's not enough work in the world that you could do to make up for what you just lost by doing this. قال ورأيت الغضب في وجهه. Abu Rawaha says, I saw how upset he was عليه الصلاة والسلام. فعلمت أنه لا يكفر ذنبي إلا الشهادة. And I knew that I will not be able to make up for my mistake today except martyrism, and he died as a martyr رضي الله عنه. One of a sha'ir of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. No, there's no freebies for anybody. You are given a task, you do it. That's how societies move forward. There has to be that piece of accountability. We have to be open to it. As masajid, we have to be open to. We have to be okay. You come and ask questions. You want to know. We have to be transparent. We have to make sure everything is clear, and we have to make sure that we're offering the best services possible, and that we are serving the right demographics, and that we are listening to the people in front of us, and that we are trying our best to offer them what they need. But then you have to do the same. But then you have to hold yourself accountable for doing the same, because we're all in this together. Because these are not businesses, and we can't run them as such. You can't see yourself as a consumer of it's just another supermarket that you go to. I go to Loblaws, I go to Food Basic and Wellness. No. This is not, you can't see masajid that way. You can't treat them that way. Or else we run into the problems that we are in today is because of this dynamic that's broken. Something is broken. It can be fixed. It requires everyone to take a look back at themselves, but it can be fixed. I hope that was a benefit to you. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَنَا بِأَمْرٍ عَظِيمٍ فَقَالَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد وارض اللهم عن الأربعة الخلفاء السادة الحنفاء أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وارض اللهم عن أزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وعن آله الطيبين الطاهرين وعن صحابته الغر الميامين وعن التابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعنا معهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات اللهم فرج هم المهمومين ونفس كرب المكروبين وارفع الغم عن المغمومين وارفع الظلم عن المظلومين واحقن دماءنا ودماء المسلمين اللهم احقن دماء إخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان احقن دماءهم في غزة فلسطين وفي السودان وفي لبنان وفي إيران وفي الشام وفي العراق وفي الخليج وفي غيرها من بلاد الأرض يا رب العالمين ما علمنا منها وما لم نعلم اجمع شتات هذه الأمة يا رب العالمين اجمع كلمة أمة حبيبك محمد على الحق والدين يا أكرم الأكرمين اللهم رد المسجد الأقصى إلى رحاب المسلمين أخرج الصهاينة منه أذلة صاغرين ارزقنا أجمعين فيه صلاة قبل الممات اللهم ردنا إليك وإلى دينك ردا جميلا وتب علينا من جميع ذنوبنا توبة نصوحة طهرنا بها قلبا وجسدا وروحا وما ذلك عليك اللهم بعزيز ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون أقم الصلاة
الله أكبر الله